Have you ever wondered what it truly means to forgive, and why it's so important? In our day-to-day lives, we encounter situations that call for forgiveness, whether it's a minor disagreement with a friend or a more serious transgression. But what does it actually mean to forgive, and why is it so crucial in our interactions with others? Let's consider forgiveness as a transformative process, a journey from resentment and anger towards understanding and empathy. It's about letting go of the past and moving forward, free from the chains of bitterness. It's about healing, not just for the one who has been wronged, but also for the one who has done the wrong. In the Bible, there are many stories that illustrate the power of forgiveness, but the tale of the prodigal son stands out as a quintessential example. This parable teaches us about unconditional love and the profound act of forgiveness. Now, let's delve into the story of the prodigal son and find out why it's one of the most powerful lessons on forgiveness in the Bible. The story begins with a man who had two sons. This man was no ordinary father. He was wealthy and had plenty to share between his offspring. As was customary, he divided his wealth, giving each son their rightful share. The elder son, content and dutiful, stayed by his father's side. But the younger son, filled with youthful exuberance and a thirst for adventure, had other plans. With his share of the inheritance in hand, the younger son set off to explore what the world beyond his father's lands had to offer. He journeyed to a distant country, far from the comforts and familiarity of home. There, he lived a life of recklessness, indulging in fleeting pleasures and squandering his wealth without a second thought. He lived for the moment, disregarding the future, driven by his desires and the allure of the unknown. However, this reckless lifestyle was unsustainable. His wealth, once abundant, dwindled until there was nothing left. The son who once lived lavishly was now penniless, his fortune squandered in a foreign land. The world that once seemed so full of promise was now a harsh and unforgiving place. But then, a severe famine struck the land where the younger son was, leaving him destitute and desperate. His situation went from bad to worse. Now, not only was he penniless, but he was also faced with a severe scarcity of resources, leaving him at the mercy of an unforgiving world. In his desperation, the younger son decides to return home. He rehearses a speech, preparing to present himself not as a son, but as a servant. His hope isn't reconciliation, but survival. He aims not for acceptance, but to simply have food to eat. The son's desperation is palpable, his humility stark. But as he approaches his old home, a familiar figure is seen in the distance. His father, who had been eagerly waiting for his return, spots him. The father doesn't wait for the son to reach him. Instead, he runs. He runs with a joy that only a loving father could feel, a joy that has been dormant but never diminished. The son begins his rehearsed speech, but before he could finish, he's interrupted. Not by words of anger or disappointment, but by his father's joyful call for a celebration. The son is not met with the harsh reality he expected. Instead, he's welcomed back into the warmth of his family, into the love he thought he had lost forever. The father orders his servants to bring the best robe, a ring, and sandals for his son. A feast is prepared, the lost son is found, the dead son is alive again. The father's joy at his son's return isn't tainted by the past. It isn't overshadowed by the mistakes his son made. And so the father's joy at his son's return overshadows the son's past mistakes. The love of a father, the joy of reunion, the power of forgiveness, all come together in a heartwarming celebration of a prodigal son's return. So, what does this story teach us about forgiveness? The tale of the prodigal son, a parable steeped in wisdom and compassion, unveils the profound nature of forgiveness. The father's unwavering forgiveness towards his wayward son is a beacon of unconditional love. Even when his son strayed, squandered his inheritance, and returned home penniless and humiliated, the father's arms remained open, his heart remained generous. This loving father did not merely forgive his son's past transgressions, but he also celebrated his return, welcoming him back into the fold with open arms. This, dear listeners, is the essence of forgiveness. It's not just about pardoning the past, but also about embracing the present and nurturing the future with a spirit of acceptance and love. Forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. It's a process that requires patience, understanding, and an abundance of love. In the end, the story of the prodigal son teaches us that forgiveness is not just about letting go of the past, but also about embracing the present and the future with love and acceptance.